up, my 1111 YouTube friends? God, that video we did the other day of pulling all the sleds out of the shop up north, that was a freaking hoot. God, we had fun doing that. And once you know, it couldn't have been 2 hours after that video, we got like an inch of snow. The sun was shining in the video. 2 hours later, we got an inch of snow. So if we would have waited till the next day, we would have pulled them out on snow versus in the dirt that we did, but whatever. We didn't, being it was dry dirt, we didn't get everything all full of mud and everything else. That was the ideal part of it, was everything was dry. Trent and I came home. Happy New Year's to everybody. I hope everybody's having a good New Year's Day. We spent a few days up there working on sleds, trying to do stuff that we've been kind of prolonged all last winter, only because there was such extreme snow every weekend when we were up there. We just rode and rode and rode and kind of let things go that we would normally maintain, but just wasn't time to do it because we were having fun. So this winter, with being no snow, we're kind of catching up on some of that stuff, and which is good and bad. We'd like to be riding right now, but it's given us some extra time to get some extra maintenance done that we really should get done. But we came home fairly early today to start working on the RXLs. That's next on the block here. I just got part sled fired up again. I talked about in my last video that we had a little hiccup on it. And Trenton, go grab that bulb, even the package. Grab the package off the bar over there. I talked about I had a hiccup on it, and I was going to talk about it later in the video. Totally forgot. That's kind of what I do. If I don't write something down before my video, I forget it. So, but what happened is we tried out these bulbs right here. Some guys have been running LEDs in their sleds, and I looked up what some people were running and stuff, and I just kind of went on Amazon and I just kind of looked at all the parameters on this bulb compared to what other guys were saying what they were using. Doesn't work. Does not work. I took my stator out within 30 seconds of the thing running with one of these bulbs in the headlight. And I've heard of this happening to another guy that learned the hard way too, about taking out voltage regulators and stators in his sled until he figured out which brand. And I'm not even going to suggest it because I'm done with them. I'm done. I went back to regular bulbs. I'm done with the LEDs. I don't personally really see much of a benefit in it, only because we don't generally ride at night. So I don't need the biggest and the baddest headlight in this thing. I need it for safety basically during the day so people can see me coming. Or if we get caught out later in the afternoon or in the evening and we got to ride back to the cabin in the dark, that's the only reason I'll ever need a headlight. I don't generally ride at night. It's not my style, not my deal anymore. But anyways, put that LED bulb in. I fired it up, and me and Trent were like, oh yeah, bulb looks great. It's nice and bright. I tried high beam, low beam, everything worked. I gave it some gas. Immediately the headlight went out, the tack, all the gauges, all the gauge lights, everything gone, done. I'm like, well, that wasn't good. Swapped out the brand new voltage regulator that was already on it from when it's building it, put another new one on, still nothing. So I dug in, and lo and behold, I took the stator out of it. I pulled the stator out, put a different stator in. Everything works now. So, coincidence? I don't know. But like I said, I'm done with the LEDs. If you want to run them in your sled, find out what everybody else is running and go with that recommendation. I thought I was on the right path, but I did something majorly wrong. So we're moving past that. So here we are on these two sleds now, and Trent just pulled them out and pressure washed both of them outside. That's generally where we start our build from, is get them pulled down and then pressure wash. It usually takes 2 or 3 trips outside pressure washing until you get them good and clean. This sled over here came from a couple sleds that Water Pump Tim had picked up. Nutter did a build on the 500 on his channel, and he called it Walnuts. And that underneath that hood of that 500 was to the top of the engine with walnuts when that sled was pulled from the barn that it was in. This sled was right next to it. Not nearly as many walnuts in it, but I had 5 pounds of mouse shit in it, but I did have some walnuts in it. And we're still digging walnuts out from underneath the little crevices there. Oh, there's it, comes out another walnut. So this one got some of the walnuts, but not nearly what the sled that Nutter got for walnuts. But Trent did an amazing job getting them all cleaned up. He's been working on skids the last couple days. He figures he's at 45-ish wheels, new bearings that he's put in wheels, because he did a skid. He did redemption up north over the weekend, and they're anywhere from 14-ish wheels in each skid. So Trenton's done a lot of bearings. He's got a bucket of scrap metal that he's keeping track of over here. Let's look in the bucket after these two skids just got pulled apart. But he's gonna weigh it at the end of the season. That ain't bad. There's 5 skids worth of bearings in there now that he's done in the last just over a month, because he did the skid in this one, did the skid in 2-bag. He's working on both skids of these right now, and plus he did the skid in redemption. So 5 skids. So I think if there was a bearing competition right now, Trenton might be towards right at the front of the line on who's leading it right now. Unless somebody else has done 5 skids, comment. Let us know how many skids you've done so far this winter, because Trenton's on a roll. And he's gotten pretty damn efficient at it. He had them all lined up over. He had like an assembly line going of popping stuff out and popping bearings in and putting the clip back in. And he's definitely damn good at it, because he's had plenty of practice lately. We got the engine for saving it sitting on the bench over here. I have not tore my engine down yet. Trenton pulled his engine apart, and for Project Unsure, here's the crank out of his engine. The crank is in great shape, so he lucked out on the crank. So we're gonna reuse the crank. The sled only had 3,000 miles on it. I think the crank is just fine to use. We already checked all the bearings. Everything's looking good on it. So we'll reuse his crank. Mine, on the other hand, I don't know. Something's going on in this thing, because it actually used to move, and now it's in the motion of non-movement. So it's either the crank or there's a piston stuck, but I used to be able to pull the recoil on this thing and actually get it to move, and it didn't move very good. I sensed there was definitely major issues inside the engine, but whatever it was, just from it sitting, with the last couple months sitting here, it's gotten worse to the point where it even roll now. So that's that. Whatever. The engine's coming apart. I have more crankshafts here. If I gotta put a crank in it, that'd be the least of my worries, because I have probably 4 or 5 cranks that are used, but in very good shape. Definitely very runnable cranks. Now I'll stick another crankshaft in it. Trenton did pick up a white windshield for his project here, and he's got a new set of mirrors sitting there that just came off of one of our other sleds over the weekend. Pulled them off, and he's just gonna put them on. He's already got mirror holes in the hood, and they're pretty much the same mirror that was on there, so he's gonna bolt those mirrors back on. I like to run with mirrors, but mainly because I'm usually leading the group, and it's so much less effort for me to glance down and see a headlight behind me than it is for me to have to turn all the way around and look back behind me to see if somebody's behind me. I'd rather just glance and see a headlight and keep on going. I'm only looking to see if there's 1 or 2 people behind me, because the people behind me are in charge of the people that are behind them. But usually, being I'm leading, I like to have mirrors on my sled. A lot of people don't like them. I mean, some people wear them on their glove. That's a good idea. You pull your hand up and check out the glove, or look at your glove and see who's behind you. Now I got one other thing, just a quick video, because we haven't got too deep into these sleds, and I'm building 2 engines this week. We'll have a lot more to talk about. Spark plugs. I get a lot of questions. What do you guys run for spark plugs? Personally, we run BR9ESs, and every sled we have runs a BR9ES. And I get the solid top spark plugs. This does not screw off. It's a solid. They do still sell them out there that screw off. An example here on these Champions. In this engine right here, you can see that they're threaded, and this can screw off. Well, what happens if you don't reef these things down before you put them in your engine, they will come loose and vibrate up here, and I don't think you get as good of a spark because of that top being loose and unscrewing itself all the time. It's kind of arcing around in there. So those are just for a lot of the older plug wires that weren't big enough inside, so they just poked down on top of that threaded stem on there. They're more of a universal plug. I don't see a reason for them anymore, but they still make them, which is good for anybody who has an old engine that requires a plug that just has the threaded top on it. Great idea, but I prefer to buy the plugs without that threaded part. So that's what when I order my spark plugs, I make sure I put in the note solid, and because I order all my plugs through Fowler Parts and Service, and I order them probably 24 at a time, at least 24 at a time when I order them. But I always just put in the notes the BR9ES solid, and they know what I'm talking about then. So that's just what we run for spark plugs. I get asked a lot, what do we run for spark plugs? And you can gap them if you want. I don't take the time to gap them. I just put them in, they spark, they light the fuel, we ride. And honestly, most of our sleds go a couple seasons on spark plugs. Everybody says, geez, you got so many sleds, my God, the spark plug bill must be insane. A lot of them, if you got them tuned right, rarely. I think Redemption right now, we're probably going on the 3rd or 4th winter now with the same spark plugs in there. A lot of our sleds run season after season with the same spark plug. So typically we go through a lot of plugs when we're first building a sled, gets a new set of plugs, and then we typically fall out a few sets trying to get them tuned in. So a lot of times I take them followed out ones and I put them into one of our good runners and burn them clean, and then they end up staying in there and running still. So, but that's what we do for spark plugs. Like I said, I get that question a lot. Stay tuned. The next week or so, a lot will be happening with these 2 sleds. 2 engines built. We should get them back in soon. Trenton's going to get the shocks rebuilt for this sled. He's going to put a set of Foxes in there. And we're going to do I'm going to drill and add some grease zerks. And I'll show you guys what I do on that, because there was a couple zerks that Polaris could have maybe put in back when they built these. And we're going to drill them and add them, because without them, it sucks. So we'll talk about that in the next video. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Appreciate all the views lately. Oh, I got a couple milestones. One is I hit almost 200,000 views in 1 month, which is, for a small channel, that ain't too shabby. I did almost 22,000 views in 2 days, just this past weekend. And I hit just over 12,000 subscribers now. So thanks to everybody that has recently subscribed, and thanks for all my subscribers that have hung in through the years of watching the videos and stuff. Try to give you as many triple startups as we can and show you what we're doing to them to make them back to their old glory again. So, but appreciate, like I said, all the new subs recently. Boom, got me popped over that 12,000 subscribers. And another thing is I went over 4 million views on my videos too. So there's a couple big things in the last month here that happened that I'm personally pretty excited about. So thanks everybody, and I appreciate all the support from everybody. See you in the next video.